we are back for getting my slideshow right and letting the sirens go by. Alright, so we are back, True Crime with Just Julie, here on April 25th, doing hours of research so that you don't have to keep up with the best podcast on true crime and sports there is out there. So to start it off, we got some hot off the press items this week. Combing through sports headlines to see where the crimes are at. So starting with Coben Porter, I'm sure y'all heard about this one, especially with Jonte Porter being pretty heavily in our after his perma ban from the NBA being in our headlines a lot this recently. Now Coben joins him, which is truly unfortunate. Yeah, but so he's 22 now, but at just 21, Coben, pictured here, got behind the wheel drunk after a night at the bar. He ran a red light on January 22nd, 2023, and he hit the driver's side of a vehicle. He killed the driver, Kathy Rothman, and injured the passenger. Miss Rothman was the mother to a young child. She was out making money for her family Ubering. So Coben allegedly was struggling with depression due to an injury that was interfering with his ability to play collegiate basketball with his team, the University of Denver, at the time of the incident. So he was sort of self-medicating in a way. That and more honesty that Porter showed during the case was kind of helped benefit him because he was incredibly honest. He took all the blame without excuses, and he showed what appeared to be significant, genuine remorse. All things we love. And so the judge sentenced him to 6 years in jail, not the maximum of 8. Man, so many of us have gotten behind the wheel drunk. So many of us have done stupid things at the age of 21. So many of us have not had those mistakes result in a homicide. And it's just really unfortunate, and life isn't fair. Sometimes the consequences are more extreme for some people than others. This is a really tough learning situation for a very young person. Hopefully he's able to find purpose and meaning, and he sounds like all of the things to do with his case make him sound like he's a good kid who made a really awful choice that'll impact Kathy Rothman and her family forever. So it's not too hopefully some good will come out of this, and yeah, he's in the slammer for 6 years. Elaine Boozler. You'll probably know about her. She was kind of big a while ago, but she was real big when she was big. So the famous comedian is in the headlines. As you can see with her hair, you can definitely tell it was another era when it was her like big time. So she was really heavy in the headlines this week for the craziest reason. She managed to get arrested over bag policy rules at the Dodger Stadium after things escalated when she couldn't get her baseball-shaped purse in. And you could kind of see it was like a baseball canvas bag. It as we all know, the rules are, either toss it or bring it back to her car. We're all perpetually annoyed by the clear bag. I think some or most stadiums allow you to take a bag if it's really small, but that's also annoying, especially since my purse is like my second appendage. I get it, Elaine, but rules are rules, and this is really drama. So Boozler was not having it. She told security that she had paid $50 to park a mile away. It was 80 degrees, and the tickets were $300 in the secondary market. All valid points that I would probably also want to yell at that situation. She also claimed the policy wasn't on her ticket, so she should be let in. She also basically said, "Do you know who I am?" Something none of us appreciate when celebrities or faux celebrities do, saying that she had to sing the anthem 5 times, been in the booth 50 times, and had played in the Hollywood Stars game 10 times in the past. And they didn't care. Rules are for everybody. The security allowed her nephew and her 8-year-old grandnephew in as she had requested, um, but they wouldn't let her in, and the security man said that she would be arrested for trespassing if she didn't leave. So she said, fine, arrest me. So they did. Um, Charges were pressed by the team. During processing, she made a joke, as the best do. When they went through her belongings and confirmed that she had $371 in her purse, she responded saying, well, yes, we were planning on buying 2 hot dogs and a water. Amen, girl. Those I volunteered at Lumen Stadium and the prices, like, I'll just be hungry, okay? It's crazy. She was released hours later with the understanding that she would get off stadium grounds immediately, and it's not clear if anything else is coming of it, but we had a bit of a Karen sighting here on Tailgate Update True Crime segment. All right. So we've been discussing racism in Spain. This is a little lesson for them. So Nicholas Jackson, Chelsea striker, had his own incident, and Chelsea showed a better way, maybe not the best or only way, but a better way to handle even racism. So, um, so he missed chances against Manchester City during Saturday's match, like 3 different um chances, which was tough to see. But anonymous fans went on an old social media post of when he had not made mistakes, which is often. When Jackson had responded to that old social media post, and they replied to his reply with monkey and peanut emojis and called him the N-word. Jackson's head coach and the team have backed him with strong support, and the team has said that they'll support any criminal prosecution. So, yeah, take note, Spain. Sorry about that, Nicholas Jackson. I do not understand what is going on in the soccer world, but so I don't, and not maybe not everyone knows, since I live so close to New York City and did live there for a while. There's some attacks going on young ladies, like just in the streets for no reason, and one of the most recent ones has been a hockey stick related one. We did the golf crimes, now we have hockey stick crimes. So, a still unidentified man attacked a woman in the Lower East Side of Manhattan last week. The 26-year-old woman was walking around 10:30 p.m. when a man ran up to her and hit her in the leg with a hockey stick. She was treated on the scene by paramedics, and he still hasn't been found as of yesterday. So, maybe I should do another segment of victories by hockey sticks. Since the golf one was so amazing, but watch out. There's men with hockey sticks in the city. So one aspect of the draft I don't think a lot of us was thinking about, probably for good reason, was the uptick in human trafficking this weekend. So if that was your plan, the draft is not the place to do that, because potentially the city is anticipating human trafficking occurring, especially with 300,000 people estimated to be in the area this weekend. Because of the draft, the city is ready. Detroit Police Commander Rebecca McKay indicated that the police is looking out for trafficking with help from the FBI, and she and her staff have been working with many local hotels on what signs to look out for. I won't be listing them here because I don't want to tip anybody off on how to not get caught if you're doing it, but maybe we'll discuss it later. They offered some resources for people who are being trafficked. I'm going to include them here. There's a hotline, 888-373-788. 7888. There we go. Text Be Free 233 733, or there's a live chat option at humantraffickinghotline.org. She somebody from a local nonprofit in the area reminded that it doesn't have to be actual. Human trafficking can also be labor-based and other things. So she encouraged people to reach out if they thought that that was even a remote possibility in their life. And I encourage you to do so. But remember, Detroit is watching. So I think we've discussed in the past that people are really closed-mouthed with the names, as in they don't give them at all, of people who have done crimes and who are playing in the English Premier League. So we never have any names, but that doesn't stop things from getting big or people trying to figure out who people are. And the big thing in the headlines right now is that two English Premier League players are facing rap charges. The two play the two players who are 19 from the same club were, and people have already tried to identify these people from clubs who are like, that is not our players, so don't do that. Anyway, were arrested Wednesday of this week for a rap that may have happened last Friday, allegedly. Both men have been released on bail, and it's not clear if the players have been suspended. They might be nervous to do that since it would sort of highlight who they were. I don't know. I don't quite understand the justice system and surrounding the English Premier League, so that's my bad. But we won't report anything that we find out as we know it. All right, this is kind of wild. So Hensley Mullins, we all know him, famous Hensley, the Rockies hitting coach, is in the hot seat this week because he posted a video to his social media showing him in the cockpit of the team's United charter plane. He was sitting in the pilot seat while the flight was midair. It appears that the hitting coach won't be in trouble, according to the team's manager, at least coaching-wise. However, it has currently led to United being investigated by the Federal Aviation Administration as it violates their policy. So that's another terrifying story. The players don't want to tell their moms. Get out of the cockpit. Okay, so this week there's been some exciting reinstatements. After missing an entire season for gambling, 5 players were reinstated last Thursday. CJ Moore, Quintez Cephas, Demetrius Taylor, Rashad Berry, and Shaka Tony. And then Tuesday of this week, Isaiah Rogers was reinstated. So, hopefully with a greater clarity due to enhanced communication on the gambling rules, this won't happen again with the NFL. All right, and Reggie Bush. Speaking of reinstatements, Reggie Bush is getting his Heisman back. He earned it in 2005 and had it taken away in 2010, and then nearly 15 years later, 14 to be exact, he gets it back. And my response to that is I want to hear people apologize directly to him and admit to the man that you were wrong. Admit to Reggie to his face that you were wrong, whoever had a hand in making this decision. Because it's one thing to give it back, but it's another thing to make amends and actually like own up to your mistakes and not just be like, oh yeah, great, you're back. Like, why did he need to come back? People need to be held accountable, and he needs his good name back. Jonathan Owens, the cutest couple ever. So, this is more specifically about Simone Biles. They were the cutest couple. They just had their first wedding anniversary last Monday. So congratulations. I mean, it was this Monday, so congrats. However, Biles broke down crying last week on her Call Her Daddy podcast over backlash her hubby received after saying stupid stuff on the pivot last December. Please tell me any woman who's been in a relationship for any period of time that has not had their man say something just ridiculous. Okay, like story of our lives, Simone, story of our lives. He said he didn't know who Biles was before they started dating, which I don't think is a bad thing. If anything, that means he's not like there for clout or like like a creepy stalker or anything. Like good. But then when they asked him how he managed to catch Simone, he said, "I always say that the men are the catch." Boo, doghouse for a month. Um, so Simone wasn't that offended by it, and what really bothered her was how like he got attacked in the comments, and so she talked about that this week. Um, and she wants to point out that she claims that he didn't say she wasn't one, he just said he was. It's like, sure, girl, okay. Like, he pretty much did say that, but however you want to make it feel good to you. Um, According to Biles, he praises the ground she walks on. So I'm like, go off, girl. Do your thing and be cute. They are very cute. We all have our stuff to work through. They're still in their 20s. Marriage is hard. Relationships are hard. Y'all will figure it out. Cute. Okay. Somebody who won't be figuring out is in our update section will be Milan Lucic and his wife because they're getting divorced. Brittany filed Lucic filed for separation Monday. Um, Brittany listed the separation date as November 17th, 2023, the day before the whole situation where Milan was arrested for a DV at the hotel incident that we've been talking about for a long time. The charges were dropped because Brittany wouldn't testify against Milan. But she's still leaving him, so maybe that's her way of handling it. In the divorce papers, she requested custody to their 3 kids and spousal support. She wanted Milan to visit the children, but only supervised, which, considering his temperament, may be wise. So, okay, Brittany, we see you. Baseball. The pants hit a new low. After the incident, pants ripping after sliding we discussed last week, it happened again on Friday. Last Friday, LA Dodgers catcher Will Smith slides in and rips a hole in the knee of his pants. His pants. And in the knee, like a big gaping hole in his knee. But at least he was called safe, so that's great. That adds on to the 3 incidents this month. In addition to the one that we discussed last week, Cody Ballinger also got got hold after in the seat of his pants after sliding into a base, literally like the entire seat of his there's a big hole there. So 3 incidents, 3 embarrassing situations. MLB, it was not the lighting. Admit that his pants gate. Let's do something about this. Okay. Jackie Robinson statue theft. Ricky Alderate, the individual we're talking about, the supposed mastermind of stealing this statue, which I have so many questions about. He was in court last Friday. He was going to be arraigned. The case, the time in a case when you say plead guilty or not guilty. However, his lawyers requested a continuance, so they won't be doing the arraignment until May 9th. I really hope that they find whoever else was involved because I'm just going to say it one more time. Ricky Alderete does not look like he was the mastermind of stealing the statue for scrap metal. But I do agree he should be held accountable for his part. All right, Luis Rubiales. The appeals against the order of the judge have been dropped, and Rubiales is heading to court for the unconsensual kiss heard around the world. And he doesn't make anything better with his alleged coercion attempts. Jennifer went with friends and families to Ibiza and alleges that they were all being intimidated by the likes of RFEF marketing director Ruben Rivera and the women's sports director Albert Leque. They were said to be trying to get her to film a video while she was on vacay, backing Lewis's claims up, and when she didn't, they got cranky. Allegedly, the men sent her mean WhatsApp messages. They allegedly told her she was a bad person. They want her to live a lonely life and would be happy if she did. I'm like, stop projecting. Anyway, Rivera, I cannot say Rivera. LaQ, Rubiales, and former women's team coach Jorge Vilda all have coercion charges in their future, according to the public prosecutor Maria Durantes Gill. Maria Durantes Gill. The harassment allegedly started directly after the kiss and hasn't stopped. In other news, Jenny Hermosa was named amongst Time's 100 most influential people of 2024. And my thought on it is hopefully she appreciates the title, considering it has to do with an essay, one of the darkest times for any victim. Like, you're the most influential person because you got essayed. However, you could make the argument that she got the title because she was essayed and then was open about it, which is a beautiful thing, but like you're still being acknowledged for an incident that surrounds your essay, and that seems like kind of not fun. But hopefully she finds the title to be a good thing. Kyle Walker. So, his mistress and the mother of his two of his 6 children, Lauren Goodman is out here talking mess, saying that Kyle invited her and the kids to the Euros, and he's mad about it, and he's like, "You lying." He probably doesn't want to lose his last chance with his wife, who's willing to say the past no longer matters after the birth of their 4th son. Because being a chronically cheating bastard could make her think twice if you act up. So, would not want to be Kyle Walker, and I can see why he was so adamant about the fact that he didn't do that. And I'm not impressed with Lauren Goodman bringing up more news, but I'm also generally not impressed with her. And hopefully, this gets resolved before the new baby pheromones are gone, and his wife sees him for who he is. So we'll see. Okay, so Vinicius. I would say it like Vinicius, but I believe it's more like Vinicius Junior. Sorry, man. I'm trying. Really trying. He talking about the racism in Spain. He broke every soccer fan's hearts collectively last month over racism. Real Madrid winger Junior cried when speaking about the toll of racial insults being slung on him for years. Junior feels like the situations are escalating and he's losing his desire to play. Every time he speaks out about the current 10 reported incidents, a media boost would occur, an empty promise, or thoughts and prayers would be sent his way, and then nothing. There is a law that exists in Spain that can allow matches to be suspended, clubs to be penalized, and for individuals to get sanctioned or arrested. Other countries with similar law use them all the time, including Italy, Germany, and France. And as you can see, as we mentioned, Chelsea doesn't seem like it would hesitate in their situation to also pursue things legally. So Junior said, "I just want to play, and I want to be able to go to the stadiums without anyone bothering me because of the color of my skin." It's a very simple request. La Liga ignored many of Junior's 10 cases last season due to a lack of investigation or club participation. Participation. The thing is there's no consequences or accountability if there isn't an investigation or if the club doesn't want to be involved. So there's no incentive to do it when you're not a good person. And we're obviously not dealing with good people who ignore these kind of things. And so the trouble is that until they make it important for people to follow the law, we're gonna have players like Junior crying in front of the camera, and it was a heartbreaking moment, and I need them to be more like Chelsea. Okay. Larry Nasser, the Justice Department agreed to award $138.7 million settlement on Tuesday related to the FBI mishandling Nasser's case. The money will be split as we were discussing how the FBI knew about, at least had people come forward, and they only interviewed one person and ignored the two other people who came forward wanting to report the situation. And yeah, so they ignored it for like I think a year, leaving like a lot of opportunity for more people to get hurt. And so the Justice Department is making good on this theoretically by the settlement. So the money will be split roughly 100 ways, 100 victims or people victimized by Larry Nassar, making each payout roughly 16K. That's a small price to pay for SA occurring amongst mainly children in some of the worst days of their life, but it's something. Becky Pepper Johnson Jackson. I keep calling her Johnson. I don't know why. We were talking about her last week. So Becky can stay on her girls cross country and track team for now, which yay. So the fourth U.S. Court of Appeals sided with Becky, saying that the state's Save Women's Sports laws violated Title X, the federal civil rights law that says sex-based discrimination in schools or education programs that receive funding from the federal government is prohibited. Judge Toby Hayton wrote, offering BPJ, they always put the child's initials in these in like cases. Um a choice between not participating in sports and participating only on boys' teams is no real choice at all. The defendant cannot expect that BPJ will countermand her social transitions, her medical treatments, and all the work she has done with her school teachers and coaches for nearly half her life by introducing herself to teammates, coaches, and even opponents as a boy. However, not everyone is advanced as Judge Hayton's. Just after the case was ruled in on court, BPJ had to face bullies. All of a sudden, after 3 years on her team with her coaches and teammates, people had things to say when she went to court. A shot put competition, 5 girls refused to compete with her recently. Um, I don't know if this is anyone's business, but just as some information for those parents of those kids. Just so y'all know, there's no strength difference in males and females pre-puberty. Granted, BPG is 13. So that's often when puberty does occur. However, Becky has not gone through any stages of male puberty and probably won't, which means she has a similar muscular formation to her female teammates. But that's probably a little too much science for those 5 girls' parents. Anyways, however, her like winning the shot put competition by 3 feet is more of a sign of her overall strength and not an indication of a male like strength because she doesn't have male like she hasn't gone through puberty as a male, so she doesn't have any of the things that happen. So it's she really is built the same as her teammates, and the reason she did so well is because she's a good athlete. But anyway, it feels kind of weird to talk about the puberty of a young girl anyway, but here we are. Leave her alone. Play your game. If you don't like how you did, practice harder. All right. Basketball. So, we talked about him, the Phoenix Suns superfan. Mr. Orange has been indicted by a grand jury on 4 counts of attempting to commit actual exploitation of a minor, which are class 3 felonies. We talked last week about how he was trying to coerce like content from students at the school that he was a volunteer teacher and basketball head coach at. And his little female friend, a teacher, of 20 years there at the school, who tipped him off that the police were coming, had her charges returned to the police for more investigation. So she has not yet been charged, but we will keep an eye. So Ben McLemore, right now, he's facing the recent arrest and charges related to for his first degree rap charge, allegedly, apparently, maybe. So he will the news is that he will finish the season and will continue to play the remainder of the season with the Spanish club Rio Briojean. They will wait for the courts to do their thing related to his recent arrest and charges, and then they'll act. So there will be no suspension until continue to play out in Spain. All right, Dwight Howard has been tweeting bad Photoshop that trolled the Lakers for not bringing him back to face off with guard Nikola Jokic. However, I have to say it to Howard. The Photoshop is funny, but you're 38, and recent lawsuits that called your actuality into question. The NBA won't touch that situation with a 200-foot pole because they can't handle it, so I don't see it happening, but go off with the Photoshop. At least it doesn't put other people in there, like AB and with Taylor Swift, but anyway. Richard Sherman is sometimes my brain twin. And in this situation he went on Twitter saying, yeah, I'm sure every great franchise is removing its legendary players' pictures from their building because they can't ever live up to that. Makes sense. I'm sure Dallas, SF, NE all removed pictures of the history of their franchise because of a new coach. Makes sense. Amen. I'm not thrilled by them taking down photos and like other things at Lumen Stadium. It makes me feel, I mean, when I was growing up, like, not quite growing up, I was already an adult, but like the Legion of Boom and all of those things, they were such an important part of my life for the Seahawks. And that should only be celebrated, not taken away. It does kind of make the new head coach look insecure, like he's trying to make a name for himself and is sort of, it doesn't feel validated by the accomplishments of the coaches ahead of him, which I'm saying is your fault. I'm really upset about this. I know other people are like, just Julie, just move on, and I'm like, no. And also, like, Richard Sherman's legacy is directly being shat on, and he has the right to be mad about it, and so do I. So, look, the past frames the future. It's important. It's like one of the best era of Seahawks football ever, so leave me alone. Dak Prescott, he is no longer facing SA charges after the judge signed off on a lawsuit being dropped without prejudice on April 16th. But because it's without prejudice, the case can't be refiled in the same county in the future. So that means that it's kind of like a you can refile, but we need to provide better evidence kind of situations typically when something is dropped, but without prejudice. So as of right now, he has no potential SA charges for that incident. Way back when, like 2017, I think. Antonio Brown. Sometimes I really appreciate AB slots. Sometimes they're funny, and sometimes they're just completely missing the mark. And in this instance, it's the latter. AB has been harassing Caitlyn. He tweeted Caitlyn Clark looks like she keeps it hairy. And then she blocked him in result, which makes a lot of sense. And he responded by saying, Ritz cracker of the day, without the Ritz. Blocked by cousin it. Really carrying this hair thing going. He continued to objectify her last weekend by posting a poll about whether or not she has hair down under. And he also suggested that Clark would get a boob job as soon as her first WNBA check hits. Look, we live in a society where women are constantly being judged for our very natural body hair. So he's just saying the quiet part out loud. And I don't know why he gets his head stuck on like a certain topic and will not like wane from it. Maybe it does have something to do with something wrong up here or something, but he just like focuses on something. But this is not the first time I'm sure that Caitlin Clark has received sexist remarks regarding her body. And I appreciate her and her unprecedented role in basketball. She'll probably face many more, but she seems very strong, and so I appreciate what she's doing out there. And Antonio Brown is not always a nice person. All right, Andrew Ogletree. Last week, Ogletree was removed from the NFL's commissioner exempt list, and he's back on the Colts active roster after he was charged. After he was arrested for DV, but apparently, like, those charges are not gonna be pursued, so he's back on the active roster, so that's interesting. Um, Brett Favre is accusing a Hall so I have a question here. Is accusing a Hall of Famer QB of knowingly receiving money designed to serve poor folks going to fall under defamation or factual and protected speech? I don't know. It's all alleged, Favre. Um, but the Mississippi auditor, Shad White, will find out for us about whether that's true or not. Um, Bill Belichick. So Matthew Slater had the Patriots, like, one of their better players ever, like, going down in the history of New England Patriot players, current coach, that stuff. He had some negative words about the dynasty's depiction of Bill Belichick. Um, and while I do respect Slater as an individual and as a player, he is in the Patriots' pocket now as a coach, and that cannot be ignored. He felt that the show had a mostly negative narrative, which he attributed to Dynasty giving the people what they want. Like, people will watch it if it's negative. And while I think that is true in part, I also think that we as the people want the truth, and we've seen a lot of the positive, fluffy stuff over the year, and we just want the truth, not the fluff. So, um, that being said, they probably could have been more balanced. Slater especially did not enjoy how Belichick was portrayed. They felt that the ruthless and conflict side was more highlighted. Um, to which I say my prior statement applies. Um, Slater minimized players' experience who didn't like Bill, saying only 1% or 2% of players disliked him, and the loud ones were on the show. Even if it was just 2%, their opinion does matter. Let's be honest, it's probably way more than 2%. And there was other players like McCourty and Harrison who said that they didn't appreciate the focus on negativity either. Um, they also pointed out that the doc mostly focused on three people, uh, Bill, Brady, and Kraft. So if you were still there at that time, you didn't really get counted. I felt like a lot of the overall story was left out. For example, Harrison interviewed with the Dynasty people for 5 to 6 hours, and his only quote was "fuck them all, fuck them all," and I think that's disappointing. Um, so obviously they want to focus on the people that'll make it so, but then also it kind of, I think a lot of people, including myself, appreciates the little guy often and getting a full narrative, so don't love that. Um, and they also mentioned the negativity, but they also seemed generally disappointed. So, yeah. Um, Again, I think bringing out the truth is never appealing, and there's always going to be some people who don't appreciate it, but there also can be sensationalism, so that's kind of up to personal interpretation. So the three Kansas City Chief fans, that we all know that froze to death recently. There's been only crickets about this case. However, a video resurfaced in the case that was new to me, and I suspect it could be new to you. So I'm gonna bring it up. The neighbor was getting ready for bed when he saw a distressed woman coming from Jordan Willis's house, the house where it all went down. Then they saw him coming from one of the men's fiance. She was coming forward in the backyard. Then the neighbor saw the cops and the ambulance coming. And at some point, the neighbor started recording, capturing Mr. Willis being handcuffed and questioned on his front stoop. Willis was saying, a really weird statement. Bro, what is going on right now? Dude, DV is crazy, yo. Everybody be nice to one another. Come on now, what is going on? After he was driven away by the cops, they searched every room in the house. So it's kind of weird that he jumped to DV. It seemed like he didn't know what was going on. I don't know. But just an interesting little side story that I hadn't heard about, and hopefully if we keep talking about this case, there'll be more attention on it and we will find out the truth because there are families waiting. Tylen Rogers. Um, Due to a FOIA request, the Seattle PD released some key info on Tuesday. Um, and there are messages between coaches and the athletic department staff that indicate that they knew at least something was going on within a month of the first woman reporting the alleged rap that Tylen Rogers did against her. Um, yeah, so that happened in November, and there's text messages in December that show that it seems that they knew that something was going on. Um, and I don't know if we've mentioned this, but Tylen has pled not guilty to the rap charges he's facing. And as if this is not bad enough, news about Tylen's criminal ways dropped again on Tuesday. Um, Rogers and his fellow UW player Diesel Gordon are facing misdemeanor assault charges after they allegedly attacked a bicyclist on March 11th of this year. So the biker was riding in the University District when two guys in a car behind him yelled for him to get on the sidewalk. And I totally feel their pain. Um, I've lived in some places that are really heavy with the bikes and people, and it's just like, can you get out of the road, please? So I get that, but what I don't get is what happens next. Um, and in response, the biker flipped them off and spat at the driver, which like don't love. Annoying. Like, how are you gonna be in the road in my way and then you're gonna yell and spit at me? Oh my god. Anyway, um, so the biker attempted to the driver attempted to hit the biker. That's when it escalates, and then found the biker despite him trying to get away. So he was trying to like go away from them and try to hide, but they found him anyway. The players pushed and smacked him and spit on his face at least 8 times, allegedly. They also partially broke his bike, allegedly, and they didn't stop until a person walking by tried to intervene. The attack was caught on a surveillance camera, so identification was not hard, and the guy's full UW, Jesus, athletic apparel helped clue them in too. So both players are currently suspended on the team, and Tylen will be back in court for his rap charges on May 21st. So more fun with this guy. Blaze Taylor here was in court last week for his bond hearing. Several witnesses spoke at the hearing, including the homicide detective investigating the case, Blaze's mom, and the killed woman, Jade, her best friend, who she was talking to allegedly the night that she went to the hospital for allergies. So in her best friend's testimony, allegedly Jade's best friend heard her say, "My drink tastes funny. I can't even walk straight. You did this to do something to the baby." So that's true. Um, the defense argued that there wasn't enough evidence. Homicide detective Adam Ruse did not agree. He said he felt that the M was premeditated and cleanup had been done in the home, and indicating a level of organization in an attempt to not get caught. I.e., for example, there's a cup in front of Jade in a photo, and the cup was missing when the police arrived at the scene. So, Reese, no, Ruse, but oh, it is Reese. Reese believed that Jade was given poison. So Blaze's mother pointed out her son was never in trouble. However, like he's always been above the law. However, she also said that her son told her that Jade went to the hospital because of COVID, not an allergy. So it seems like maybe he hadn't been honest with his family about the extent of the crime, which is kind of unclear what the motive for that was, but yeah, the judge did not set a bond yet, and everyone will be back on court on May 9th. It seems like he wants to look over the testimonies and stuff before he makes a choice. So Cameron Sutton is joining Ben Gordon in a diversion program um, that is designed to resolve his DV case. He has been in the batters and intervention program in Florida as of April 8th, and he can't have a weapon, firearms, and will have to do a mental eval while he is in the program. He also cannot speak to the victim. So we got Sutton in a program. O.J. Simpson. Big surprise. OJ's estate attorney lied or is calling out the family for lying for no obvious reason. His attorney his attorney said OJ did not actually die surrounded by his children and grandchildren. He said the attorney said they had one close family member by his side. In the message sent out on social media, the family said he was surrounded. The lawyer said no, he wasn't. Why? My guess is there's a calculated reason why he's bringing this up, but I just don't know what it is. I also heard rumor this week that OJ was accused of setting back CTE research for decades. As we all know, I study CTE and its research for not quite decades, but a long time. So, we'll get into that. I think it's doubtful that he did, but they should have let him donate his brain for CTE research to make up for it if he did. But anyway, so OJ back in 1970 testified in a landmark court case between the family of an injured player and a major helmet maker, Rawlings Sporting Goods. So the player was Ernie Pilton, a high school football player who was paralyzed from the neck down after a helmet-to-helmet hit in 1967. So the Rawlings Sporting Goods, they hired Simpson as a witness because he used their helmets. And Simpson was like a really popular guy already in San Fran at the time because he had been doing when he grew up there, like he had gone to school there for a time. And so he was already like pretty influential. So Simpson, went up and he vigorously defended the helmets. He said he believed in them. What I can't believe is that jurors asked for Simpson's autograph via note and he signed them. So like why was that not an immediate mistrial? I will never know. And unsurprisingly Rawlings won. Had Rawlings lost, there would have been greater accountability and there would have been and the accountability would have come sooner. The case set a precedence, that like the accountability was not on the helmet, and it made attorneys nervous about trying similar cases for a long time. So there is that. Rawlings finally stopped making helmets in 2015 after losing like a myriad of lawsuits all at once to families of youth with kids. Their kids had head injuries. So I'm like, how many people had Rawlings? It's awful. It's truly awful. Um, and interestingly, people discussing this said that the NFL benefited from Simpson's brain not being tested. The awareness attached to such a big name would have put a magnifying glass on football and its relationship to CTE. I hadn't thought about it that way, but that makes sense. But all that to be considered, I don't think the court case was OJ's fault. Do I think he's a psychopath like person who would have no remorse about lying and would not care at all about a paralyzed child? Yes. That being said, plenty of people would have done it in place of him because money. In 1970, he hadn't even been in the NFL a full year yet. He didn't have he was there, I guess it depended on when in 1970 because he was drafted in 1969. But still, he didn't have an accumulation of injuries yet that caught up to him later, like his hiding in a dark room for days after a game and memory loss injuries that came down the road. He hadn't had them yet because he was still so young. So when he spoke about the helmets, I don't necessarily think he was being dishonest. I think it was an unfortunate situation, but I think the responsibility should lie squarely with the court and with Rawlings and not their testimony witness. Yeah, so he was a young man vouching for a helmet he counted on too. And he was getting money back when the NFL didn't pay that good. It wasn't until the 80s that it paid at all. And as much as I like to blame OJ, I think he's just a cog in the wheel of justice that may have moved it a bit. Um, yeah, the NFL intentionally knew about CTE for a long time and intentionally tried to hide the research. So as much as like we can blame this person or that person, um, I would prefer to blame like giant organizations with tons of money like Rollins and OJ. I mean, not OJ, Rollins and the NFL. So Jason Kelsey here, I remember when he was bending over for the Pro Bowl. I was surprised he could get back up. I was scared, frankly, that he wouldn't. But anyway, he lost his ring in a Cincinnati landfill like 2 weeks ago, I think, after doing an event there with his brother Travis, involving a giant vat of chili. He dived in the chili. He lost his Super Bowl ring, probably better than his wedding ring, if I had to guess. Um, he mentioned that they had searched the vat, but then it had gone and it was at the landfill, and they didn't think they'd be able to get it back. So Cincinnati landfill, Rumpel Waste and Recycling, spoke out about Kelsey's ring, which is kind of unbelievable. Molly Yeager, corporate communications manager, spoke out saying that the Kelseys, Jason, or otherwise had not filed a report with them. Um, they hadn't heard from them at all, which, care to clarify on that, Jason? Anyway, um, so up to 12,500 tons of waste are dumped daily at Rumpke. So finding it is unlikely, but up to the Kelseys to explore that if they want to, according to Molly. It is expensive and it does affect operations at Rumpke, but they would need to isolate the section of landfill based on like the day and location that the ring had come in. Where things were dumped that day, which can be done. It was a hot enough story that WWLT reporter Charlie Clifford stopped by Rumpke and tried to track down the ring unsuccessfully. He literally walked through the landfill, and to me, his efforts were quite admirable and worth acknowledging extensively. But he did not find the ring. However, the family can still pursue that. Alright, in our last story of the week, we have Rashee Rice. Chatter is blowing up about a potential multi-game suspension that the NFL may hand Rice. They are really trying to crack down on reckless driving in the league. You know, we've been discussing plenty of it in the past months. And they might try to make an example out of Rice to do that. And apparently this is heavily weighing on Casey's mind and having them rethink potential draft picks. This was actually filmed Thursday afternoon, right before the draft, so we will see if that's true or not and compare notes. But we will be keeping an eye on that and on many other cases. Definitely comment, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, ding, so you will always know when I have something out there. Thank you so much for listening. I love knowing y'all are there and absolutely love any interaction. So if you know, you know. Alright, see y'all later.